I called my husband a manipulative piece of crap, and now he's emotionally distant. My husband cries at everything. Sad commercial, tears. Reading a book, tears. Someone tells an emotional story, full sobbing. When we first started dating, I thought it was sweet that he felt things so deeply. My ex was emotionally cold, so this seemed refreshing. But after 3 years of marriage, it got exhausting and honestly embarrassing in front of my friends. 3 months ago, we had people over for dinner. Everything was fine until he told this story about our Colorado vacation, but he exaggerated everything. Made himself sound like a hero who saved us from a charging bear when we actually just saw one from 200 feet away through binoculars. He made it sound like this intense life or death encounter. So I said, hey, that's not really how it happened. I wasn't trying to embarrass him. I just hate liars, and he does this constantly with stories. Makes everything more dramatic than it was. He laughed it off nervously and said everyone knows he exaggerates for comedic effect. That's just how he tells stories. Our friends laughed along and the moment passed, but it kept bothering me the rest of the night. After everyone left, I brought it up again. Told him I didn't appreciate being made to look like the bad guy for telling the truth. He got annoyed and said we already discussed it, that he didn't need me correcting him in front of his friends like he was a child. That's when I raised my voice. Told him he should be embarrassed for lying, and immediately his eyes started watering, then full tears, then sobbing into his hands like I'd told him his family died. Something in me snapped. I told him he was being a manipulative piece of crap, that I was absolutely sick of his constant crying about everything, that every single time I tried to bring up something that bothered me, he'd start crying to shut down the conversation, that it was calculated manipulation to make me feel guilty. I brought up specific examples. 2 weeks ago when I told him his chicken was disgusting and explained how to season it properly, he started tearing up in the kitchen. Last month when I said his haircut looked bad, he literally left the room crying. Every criticism, no matter how small, turned into this huge emotional production. Then I raised my hand while talking, not at him, just gesturing while I ranted. And I said if he didn't stop with these manipulative tears, I'd give him something to actually cry about. I didn't mean it. My dad used to say that to my mom, and I always hated it, but I was so frustrated it just came out. He asked through broken breathing if I really thought he was being manipulative on purpose. I looked him in the eyes and said yes, absolutely yes. He flinched hard when I moved my hand again, like he thought I was going to hit him. I told him I would never hurt him, just an empty threat, but then kept going. Told him he always manipulates every argument by crying and playing victim. He said he couldn't look at me and locked himself in our bedroom. I could hear him crying for hours. He came out around 2 a.m., eyes red and swollen, apologized in this quiet, flat voice, said he was sorry if I thought he was manipulative, that he'd work on it and it wouldn't happen again. I thought, okay, we can finally move past this, but he started pulling away. Stopped watching movies with sad parts. No more reading books in the living room. Wouldn't tell me work stories anymore. When we'd go out with friends, he'd go completely quiet if I was there. Our friends stopped inviting me to hangouts. One finally told me straight up they didn't want me there because he wasn't fun when I was around, that he used to be the life of the party and now just sat there like a ghost. He stopped watching emotional TV shows. Started leaving the room when I'd call my mom. Wouldn't talk to his own mother on the phone if I was nearby. It felt like living with a stranger. Yesterday it hit me. I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen him cry. Not once in 3 months. Not even when his childhood dog died last week. He just nodded and went to our bedroom. Last night I brought it up. Told him I noticed he hasn't cried in a while. He was washing dishes and didn't turn around. Just said in that flat voice he didn't want to manipulate me anymore. I told him his everyday crying wasn't manipulative. He finally turned and looked at me with empty eyes. Said so it's only manipulative when you're mad at me? When it's inconvenient for you? I didn't know what to say. He went back to washing dishes. I think I broke something in him I can't fix.